I got sent this video earlier today, and I click on the video. It's like 8 seconds long, and it's these two gentlemen. They're having their little wrestling match, and it's an outdoor, and the sun's coming down, and you got a crowd all around it. So, wrestler A throws wrestler B in what's known as a body lock. So he comes out, if you don't know what body lock means, just think of a bear hug. He locks his hands around him and throws him through the air. So now he's about to pin his opponent, when who appears to be grandma, very sweet-looking elderly lady, bonnet in her hair, I mean, very quintessential, comes onto the mat and begins hitting the top wrestler who's doing the pinning in the back of the head. So the wrestler looks up, sees that it appears to be grandma, does absolutely nothing other than kind of shake his head in a, oh my goodness, no, man. Referee gets involved, disqualification. Okay, you've got the point. Now, those stories are going around everywhere. I mean, you'll see, YouTube's got a whole section dedicated to the crazy parent. And at some kids meet, a dad runs on the mat and pulls someone else off. It's one of these very natural and very ugly when it happens. We can make light of it because of the sweet old lady. We can do that here. But I'll tell you guys, I got one. I've got one. And this happened in 1994. So they're in Siberia, and there's a huge tournament going on. It's called the Corellon Cup. Now, it's named after the great Aleksandr Karelin, 3-time Olympic champion and a world this and that. He did so well in amateur athletics that Putin put him into the parliament. Like, without even going through the military, this Aleksandr Karelin is a 4-star general. Okay, just out of respect. So they have a tournament called the Corellon Cup. Now, this isn't what most American wrestling fans are ever going to be able to relate to. By example, people cared. The building is absolutely packed. It is negative 18 degrees in Siberia when this is happening, and there are people at the windows with like their children standing on their shoulders so they can look through the window. It's a very, very big deal. Wrestlers come in from all over the world. So Matt Lindland is wrestling in the bronze medal match. Gold, silver, bronze, all matters out there. I want to say like whoever wins the tournament gets a car, but then second place gets a TV and third place gets a Walkman. Whatever it is, though, there's prizes, and that's very unique to wrestling. So Matt's wrestling for the bronze. And he's on top of the guy, and the guy is down, and there's a move in wrestling known as the half Nelson. Now, a half Nelson on your first day of wrestling, for sure, anywhere in the world, is a move you're going to be taught. It is the most basic of holds, where you bring a hand over a guy's neck, but you start to explain to a 5 or 6-year-old child having his first day within the sport about getting an opponent to its back. It's very basic. It's very simple. Matt is wrestling for the bronze in the Corellon Cup, which means he's got a hammer. There's no way about it. It doesn't really matter who gets the bronze. If you're wrestling for a medal at this, you're one of the baddest dudes on earth. So Matt puts a half Nelson on, and everyone's looking around going, what is he kidding? All of a sudden, the guy jumps to his back. All of a sudden, the guy's pinned. All of a sudden, Matt wins. Upon further review, when Matt puts the half Nelson on a flat laying opponent, he comes under an arm, and he's got a half Nelson. He reaches over to the guy's free arm, grabs his thumb, and just snaps it. So it was the snapping of said thumb that forced said athlete to jump onto his back. Okay, great. This happened, except do you remember a minute ago when I was telling you that a lot of the wrestlers are gangsters in Russia? I wasn't exaggerating. So when Matt pins this guy, the guy is getting up to his feet for the shaking of the hands. He's holding one hand because of his thumb, and he's motioning his fellow gangster buddies to the mat. They don't know why, but all of a sudden the arena starts coming in this direction. Referee has barely enough time to raise Matt's hands, and the U.S. coaches start rushing Matt to safety. There's nowhere to go. It's negative 18 degrees outside, of which they don't have a car. It's dark in the dead of night. They don't know anyone there, so they do all they can do, which is run through the building, and eventually they end up in the basement. So this is one of your quintessential moves where they get in the basement and the 2 doors shut behind them and there's nothing to lock the door, so they take the broom handle and push it through. I mean, just like it's a movie, like they push the broomstick through. So now Matt is down in the basement with one of his coaches. One of his coaches is Russian. He was brought over from Russia by the Olympic Training Center to teach our athletes because he was so good and Russia does so well. So Matt, coach goes, Matt, what happened? What happened? So Matt tells him, Matt goes, Anatoly, I reached up and I broke his thumb, and it turns out he's connected, and now they say they're going to kill me. And Anatoly pauses and says, oh, yes, this is probably going to happen. Well, that's a big problem, right? I mean, any athlete, you guys can relate. What do you do if you're in trouble? You call dad. Well, if dad's not around, what's the next closest thing to dad? Well, you're going to tell your coach. So Matt tells his coach, and his coach informs him, yes, this is probably going to happen. Oh boy. So all Matt's got for friends at this thing, or whatever wrestlers happen to see this happen and made it down to the basement before they stuck the broom handle in between. And these stairs are full. It's like a 3K stair. They're all full. People are trying to get in. This guy, sent him with us. He's dead. So one of the guys that made it was named Matt Ghaffari. And Matt Ghaffari had a relationship with Karelin. And it wasn't overly friendly, but it wasn't overly adverse either. They had wrestled each other in world and Olympic competition. In fact, they even wrestled for the gold medal in 1996 in the final. So Matt has a relation, and Matt tells all the guys that want Matt, he goes, we will give you Matt. We'll give him. We'll stand aside and you can have him. But Corellon has to approve it. Somehow that gets through the building, and Corellon comes down. Corellon doesn't really know what's going on, but he comes down. Ghaffari has a couple of words, and these staircases are packed. However many people you can fit in them. Few wrestlers stand on the other side of this broomstick. Ghaffari has words with Corellon. Corellon turns back and he yells one word. I don't know what it is because it was in Russia. He throws his hand to wave them all off and yells one word. Nah. Everybody disappeared. It was over. So Matt has to go to the after party. He has to go to the after party because that's the only place that's serving food, and he's starving after wrestling all day. So he goes to the after party where these guys are, and the guy in question is like, wrapped, he's in his cast at this point. And Matt doesn't know what to do, so he sends him over a bottle of wine. All was cool. Guy got the wine, looked at Matt, gave him the tip of the hat. Off you go.